everybody, welcome back, or for those of you that are new, my name is Susan. I am a freelance fiction editor specializing in science fiction, fantasy, and romance. And this week we're going to talk about showing versus telling. Now, showing versus telling is a huge discussion topic within the writing community, and rightfully so. It is an integral part of getting your book to connect with your readers, getting them to feel what you want them to feel and know what you need them to know. And this is something that authors can struggle with regardless of where they're at in their writing career, first book or 50th book. So let's talk about what those terms mean, as well as how to show and how to tell, because both are vital to the balance of the story, as well as go through some examples to demonstrate the difference. So when you inevitably get that show don't tell quote in your edits, you'll know exactly what that means and how to move forward. Okay, so what exactly do people mean when they say show don't tell or show versus tell? Show versus tell is a tricky writing technique where you evaluate the information you are giving the reader and you balance how you write it by sometimes showing the information, so giving more detail, setting the scene, showing your reader what they need to know, versus telling information sometimes, so just telling the reader, stating the facts. A common misconception when people talk about show versus tell is that telling is bad, but it isn't. It's just easier to do, so most of the feedback you're most likely going to get in your edits is going to be show don't tell, because you've naturally told something that the editor wants you to show instead. Both are needed in the story to convey a full picture to the reader. So when do you want to show details? Like I said above, showing means giving more detail, setting the scene, showing the character. Imagine it as seeing something in 4K versus HD. So you really feel like you're there, like you're in the shoes. If you're watching a nature documentary, you are in the jungle with all of the plants and the animals and everything like that. It feels like you're experiencing it, so it can be very personal and close to the reader. You want to do this, you want to show on the important details in your story. Give more on what is vital, what you need the readers to experience and pay attention to. Now I know what you're thinking, everything in my story is important or it wouldn't be in my story. So why would I tell when I can just show everything in beautiful 4K? And there are two reasons why you don't want to do that. First, there is a hierarchy of information you're giving to the reader. Some details are more important, necessary to the plot and story than others. I'll dive into that in a second when I get into my examples. But the second and more important reason is readers only have so much attention to give. There is a limited amount to what a reader who might only read your book once is going to catch and remember, and it is your job as the author to emphasize what they should be connecting to. Basically building them a map to lead them through this massive maze of a complex story that you have built. Keeping them focused on what is most important, what you want them focused on. If you don't, they might get lost in the details, focus on the wrong thing, and miss something important, or just get so overwhelmed that they end up putting the book down. By telling the smaller, less important details, you can quickly convey what the reader needs to know at that moment, and then more quickly get them to the vital parts of the scene or the story. With all that said, let's get to some examples to show you what I mean. No pun intended. Okay, so let's say you are writing a contemporary story and your characters are entering a neighborhood. Ask yourself, how important is the neighborhood to the story, to the scene, to your character? Your answer to that question is going to tell you whether or not you need to show or tell that detail. If the neighborhood is just passing scenery, just a happenstance of where they are, you can probably just tell that detail, state it, and then keep the story moving forward. So let me give you an example. As they entered the neighborhood, Sarah could feel her heart start to pound. She didn't want to see Gabe again. After what he'd done, she didn't know if she'd ever be able to face him. Pulling into the drive, Sarah's mom turned off the car and turned to her, ... etc., etc. So in that instance, I had decided the neighborhood is not important. The neighborhood is just a setting of where they are. The focus is on Sarah and her emotions and what's going on inside her as they slowly approach Gabe's house. So you don't really need any details about the neighborhood. You don't need to know what the houses look like, whether it's a wealthy or a poor neighborhood, how long it takes to get to Gabe's house, anything like that. Giving any of that information, showing that information, would just slow that scene down versus just telling the reader they're entering a neighborhood and then letting them focus on Sarah, on the next vital aspect of that scene, of that chapter. Okay, so now let's flip it. Let's say the neighborhood is important and you do need to show it. What does that look like? As they entered the neighborhood, Sarah could feel her heart start to pound. There were so many houses crammed together, one after the other. There wasn't a single soul in sight. Doors had been left hanging open, bikes and toys lay abandoned on the grass, as though their owners would be right back. But Sarah knew there was no coming back for them, for anyone. So in that scene, the neighborhood is important. Showing it gave more information about the world and the effect it had on Sarah as they drove through, or probably more accurately walked through if it was sort of an apocalypse, end of the world type situation. So showing those details, spending time there was important. You were drawing the reader's attention to that moment and showing vital information that way versus just telling them the neighborhood was empty, it was abandoned. And now that you've shown that, you could tell the reader they walked for miles or they wandered for hours or whatever small detail you want to just tell, and then move on to the next important scene, which is, in this situation, probably being attacked by zombies as they try to infiltrate an abandoned neighborhood. So hopefully these contrasting examples give you a good idea of what it means to show, what it means to tell, and the balance that needs to happen between the two. Why both are equally important to storytelling. The trick is not showing over telling or telling over showing, but finding a balance, an ebb and flow between the two. To carefully weave your story, keeping the tension and pacing high and keeping your readers interested as they continue to read. Now, as you write more, as you practice show and tell in this balance, and you get the feel that works for your voice, your style, you won't need to do as much of a clinical evaluation every time. These are sort of over-exaggerated examples to really show you what it means. In your own writing, it may be more of a subtle transition between the two. And it will come more easily with practice. It's something that you'll probably get a sense of to the point where eventually you won't even notice you're doing it. Or maybe you're at the point now where you don't really notice you're doing it, which is why you probably have a hard time fixing it when an editor comes back and says, show, don't tell, and you were like, I didn't know I was showing or telling. So that's why it's sort of important to break it down into the components and understand what's going on with each side and how it can equal up to a whole scene. Hopefully this has been helpful, and now you'll know what it means when someone comes back to you with the feedback of show, don't tell here, and hopefully you'll know exactly how to evaluate that scene and how to look at it to be able to adjust that as needed and move forward. I could talk about this for days. Obviously, it's a very complex thing. It's a bit deceptively simple when it has really big ramifications for your story as far as letting the reader feel emotions. We sort of covered more scene, show versus tell today versus emotional showing and telling, as well as ramifications on your pacing and your tension and everything like that. So I was considering doing a part 2 for this video with more examples. If that's something that you'd be interested in, comment below and let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and then you'll know when new videos like this come out. And until next week, keep writing.